The moment I walk into the house, I know something's off. The air feels heavy, like a storm's about to hit. I step into the living room, and the faint scent of her perfume lingers, a scent I used to love, but now only makes my stomach turn. It's been weeks of late nights, hushed phone calls, and that gut feeling gnawing at me. Tonight, I need answers. Claire. I call out, my voice echoing through the quiet house. There's no response, but I hear a shuffle upstairs. My pulse quickens as I take the stairs 2 at a time, each step building the tension inside me. The bedroom door is slightly ajar. I push it open to find her standing by the window, phone in hand, her face pale as she whirls around to face me. She looks caught, like a deer in headlights. "Who were you talking to?" I ask, keeping my voice steady, though the anger surges beneath my calm exterior. "No one," she says too quickly, shoving the phone into her pocket. "Just work stuff." Work stuff. The same excuse she's been giving me for weeks. I take a deep breath, trying to control the rage bubbling inside me. At 10 o'clock at night? Really, Claire? Do you think I'm stupid? Her eyes dart around the room, looking everywhere except at me. "You're overreacting, Mike. You always do this. You're being paranoid." Paranoid. The word cuts deeper than it should. I've been bending over backward for this marriage, holding on despite the distance between us. But this is the last straw. I step closer, the tension between us crackling like a live wire. "If there's nothing to hide, let me see your phone." Her eyes widen, and she takes a step back. "You don't trust me? Is this what we've come to?" I laugh, but there's no humor in it. Trust? That's rich, coming from someone who's been sneaking around and lying for weeks. "What's going on, Claire? Who is he?" The silence that follows is deafening. She opens her mouth to respond, but the words seem stuck in her throat. That's all the confirmation I need. Her lips tremble, and for a moment, I think she's about to say something, but instead, she turns away, facing the window. The moonlight cuts across her face, highlighting the tears brimming in her eyes. It's a sight that would have softened me once, but not now. Not tonight. "Mike, please," she finally says, her voice breaking. "It's not what you think." I step closer, my fists clenching at my sides. "Then what is it, Claire? Make me understand, because right now, all I see is you hiding something, and I'm done being played for a fool." Her shoulders slump, and for a second, I think she's going to tell me the truth. Instead, she shakes her head. "You're tired. Let's just go to bed and talk about this in the morning." I laugh bitterly. "Morning? So you can come up with another lie to feed me?" "No, Claire. We're doing this now." I grab the phone from her pocket before she can react, ignoring her protests as she lunges for it. "Give it back, Mike," she cries, her voice panicked now, and that panic only fuels my determination. I hold the phone out of her reach, my thumb hovering over the screen. "Locked. What's the passcode?" I demand. "Mike, you're being ridiculous," she snaps, her cheeks flushing with anger. "Give me my phone." I narrow my eyes at her, my voice dropping to a low growl. "Passcode. Now." She hesitates, biting her lip. Then, reluctantly, she mumbles the numbers. My heart pounds as I enter them, the screen unlocking to reveal a flood of notifications, texts, emails, and a name that makes my stomach drop. "Jake." The name blinks back at me like a taunt, and I can feel the world tilting beneath my feet. Jake, her coworker, the one she's mentioned a few times in passing, always brushing it off as nothing. My hands tremble as I open the messages, scrolling through the thread. "Can't stop thinking about last night. You looked stunning. You're amazing. I don't know how much longer I can wait to see you again." Her responses are there too, just as damning. My chest tightens, and it feels like the air has been sucked out of the room. The texts paint a picture I can't deny, no matter how much I want to. Claire reaches for the phone again, desperation in her eyes. "Mike, let me explain." "Explain what?" I shout, stepping back. "Explain how you've been sneaking around with him while I've been here, trying to keep this marriage together? Do you even understand what you've done?" She freezes, her face pale. "It's not what it looks like," she says weakly, but the words ring hollow. "Then tell me, Claire." Tell me what it is, I demand, my voice cracking. Because right now, all I see is a woman who betrayed me. A woman who broke her vows. A woman I don't even recognize anymore. She doesn't answer. The silence stretches between us, heavy and suffocating. Finally, I shake my head, the phone slipping from my fingers and landing with a dull thud on the floor. I'm done, I say quietly, the words feeling like shards of glass in my throat. I can't do this anymore. Her eyes widen, and she takes a step toward me. Mike, wait. Don't say that. Please. But I don't wait. I turn and walk out of the room, the sound of her calling my name fading behind me. I head downstairs, my mind racing as my hands shake uncontrollably. Every memory with Claire now feels tainted, every moment a lie. The texts play in a loop in my head. Her words to Jake, his responses. How long has this been going on? How could I not see it? I grab my car keys off the counter, desperate to get out of the house, to put some space between us before I say something I can't take back. As I reach for the door, Claire's footsteps pound down the stairs behind me. Mike, wait, she shouts, her voice cracking. You can't just leave like this. I spin around, my hands still on the doorknob. Watch me, I snap. You've been lying to me for weeks, maybe longer. And now you expect me to stay and listen to more of your excuses. Her face crumples, tears streaming down her cheeks. It's not what you think, she says again, her voice trembling. I never meant for it to go this far. I made a mistake. A mistake? I bark out a humorless laugh. Claire, a mistake is forgetting our anniversary or burning dinner. This is betrayal. Don't you dare stand there and try to downplay it. She takes a step closer, her hands outstretched as if to plead. I love you, Mike. I swear I do. Jake, he didn't mean anything. It was just, I don't know, a distraction. I've been feeling lost and lost? I interrupt, the word igniting a fresh wave of fury. You felt lost, so you ran to another man instead of talking to me? You know what? Spare me your excuses, Claire. I've heard enough. I yank the door open, the cool night air hitting me like a slap. She grabs my arm, her grip surprisingly strong. Please, Mike, don't go. We can fix this. We can get through this together. Her desperation almost gets to me. Almost. But then I remember the texts, the lies, the nights she came home late with flimsy excuses. I shake her off, stepping onto the porch. I don't think we can, Claire, I say, my voice cold and final. You made your choice. Now I'm making mine. I slam the door behind me, her cries muffled as I stride to my car. My hands tremble as I start the engine, the reality of what just happened sinking in. I drive aimlessly, the dark streets stretching out before me, my mind a chaotic mess. Eventually, I pull into an empty parking lot and kill the engine. The silence is deafening, the weight of the night pressing down on me. For the first time, I let myself feel the full brunt of the betrayal, anger, hurt, disbelief all swirling together in a toxic mix. My phone buzzes, pulling me out of my thoughts. It's a text from Claire. Mike, please come back. We need to talk. I'll do whatever it takes to fix this. I stare at the message, my heart torn between the love I still feel for her and the anger burning in my chest. I could go back. I could hear her out, give her the chance to explain. But a part of me wonders if I'll ever be able to look at her the same way again. I set the phone down without replying, leaning back in my seat as a single question echoes in my mind. What do I do now? I sit in the car, staring at the black screen of my phone as if it holds the answers I desperately need. Her text feels like a trap, a plea wrapped in guilt, begging me to give her another chance. But can trust ever be rebuilt after it's been shattered like this? I open the glove compartment, rummaging around for something to focus on. My hand brushes against a folded photo, our wedding picture. I pull it out, the edges worn from years of being moved around. We're smiling, holding hands, caught in a moment of pure joy. It feels like a lifetime ago. I barely recognize the people in it. My thoughts are interrupted by another buzz. It's her again. I know I messed up, Mike. I know I don't deserve it. But please, just come home so we can talk. I toss the phone onto the passenger seat, unable to look at it. The anger surges again, hot and consuming. Her words mean nothing. Not after what I saw. Not after Jake. I grip the steering wheel, my knuckles white. Part of me wants to go back, to confront her properly, to demand every detail of her betrayal. But another part, an angrier, more wounded part, wants to stay away, to make her feel the loss she's inflicted on me. With a sharp breath, I turn the ignition back on. The engine hums to life, the sound grounding me. I need clarity, and I won't find it in this parking lot. I pull out and drive. The streets empty and quiet, the city asleep while my mind races. My car seems to have a mind of its own, guiding me to the one person I can always count on. My brother, Ryan. He lives across town, a small apartment above the bar he manages. We've had our differences over the years, but when push comes to shove, Ryan's always had my back. I park in front of the bar, the neon sign flickering in the dark. It's closed, but the light in the upstairs window tells me he's still awake. I climb the stairs, each step feeling heavier than the last. By the time I reach his door, my emotions are on the verge of spilling over. I knock twice, the sound echoing in the quiet hallway. A moment later, the door swings open, and Ryan stands there in sweatpants and a t-shirt, a beer in hand. His brows knit together when he sees me. "Mike, what the hell are you doing here?" It's almost midnight. I try to answer, but the words stick in my throat. Instead, I just stand there, my expression enough to tell him something's wrong. His face softens, and he steps aside. "Come in." I walk in, the familiar scent of stale beer and his cologne hitting me. The place is a mess, empty pizza boxes and clothes strewn everywhere, but it feels oddly comforting. Ryan shuts the door and turns to me, his eyes searching my face. "What's going on, man? You look like you've been hit by a truck." I sink onto his couch, the weight of the night finally crashing down on me. I bury my face in my hands, my voice barely a whisper when I speak. "Claire's been cheating on me." The words hang in the air, heavy and suffocating. Ryan doesn't say anything at first, just sits beside me, his hand on my shoulder. His silence feels like the first bit of solace I've had all night. "Tell me everything," he says finally, his voice low and steady. And so, I do. Every detail spills out, the late nights, the lies, the texts from Jake. By the time I'm done, my throat feels raw, and the anger has shifted to a dull ache in my chest. Ryan leans back, his expression dark. "That's messed up, Mike. You don't deserve this." I don't even know what to do, I admit, my voice cracking. She's texting me, begging me to come home, but how do I go back to that? How do I even look at her without seeing all the lies? Ryan shakes his head, his jaw tight. "You don't have to decide right now. Stay here tonight. Clear your head. We'll figure it out in the morning." For the first time all night, I feel a small sense of relief. I nod, grateful for his support, and lean back against the couch. But even as exhaustion tugs at me, I know the hardest part is still ahead. The sunlight streaming through the blinds wakes me, and for a moment, I forget where I am. The couch, the stale scent of beer, Ryan snoring from the recliner. All of it comes rushing back, and so does the memory of last night. Claire's betrayal hits me like a sucker punch to the gut. I sit up, running a hand through my hair, the weight of it all pressing down on me again. My phone sits on the coffee table where I left it, buzzing quietly with new messages. No doubt from her. Ryan stirs, his eyes half open as he stretches and yawns. "Morning," he says groggily. "Coffee's in the pot. Help yourself." I nod and make my way to the kitchen, the small space cluttered but functional. As I pour myself a cup, Ryan joins me, leaning against the counter with a serious look on his face. "Have you decided what you're going to do?" he asks, his tone careful. I take a sip of coffee, the bitterness grounding me. I don't know. Part of me wants to go back and hear her out, but I don't think I can forgive her. Not after what I saw. Ryan nods, crossing his arms. "Good. You shouldn't just roll over and take this. She made her bed, Mike. Let her lie in it." His bluntness is refreshing, but it doesn't make the decision any easier. "It's not that simple," I say, setting the mug down. "I built a life with her, Ryan. 15 years. You don't just throw that away. Maybe not, he says, his voice softening. But you don't let her walk all over you either. You need to think about what's best for you, not her. The truth in his words stings, but I know he's right. For too long, I've been putting Claire's feelings ahead of my own, trying to hold on to something that's been slipping away for years. Before I can respond, my phone buzzes again. Ryan glances at it, raising an eyebrow. Is that her? Probably, I mutter, grabbing the phone. Sure enough, it's another text from Claire. I'll do whatever it takes, Mike. Therapy, counseling, anything. Just please don't leave. I show the message to Ryan, and he scoffs. She's panicking. She knows she messed up and doesn't want to deal with the fallout. Don't let her guilt you into staying. I set the phone down, my hands shaking. It's not guilt. It's complicated. I still love her, Ryan. As much as I hate what she did, I can't just turn that off. He places a hand on my shoulder, his grip firm. Love doesn't mean letting someone treat you like crap. You deserve better than this. His words hang in the air, and for the first time, I feel a spark of clarity. He's right. I deserve better. But knowing that doesn't make the decision any less painful. The day stretches out ahead of me, filled with questions I don't have answers to. Ryan offers to take me out for lunch, to distract me, but I decline. I need to think, to figure out what my next move is. By late afternoon, I find myself back in my car, driving aimlessly. My mind is a storm of emotions: anger, sadness, confusion, and yes, love. Despite everything, I can't shake the memories of the good times, the life we built together. I end up at the park where Claire and I used to come when we were first married. The bench where we'd sit and talk for hours is still there, and I take a seat, the familiar surroundings bringing a strange mix of comfort and pain. My phone buzzes again, and this time, I pick it up. Another message from Claire. I know I've hurt you, Mike, but please, just come home so we can talk. I love you. I stare at the screen, the words blurring as tears fill my eyes. Love. Does she even know what that means? Or was it all just a lie? The question lingers, unanswered, as I sit there, torn between the past I can't let go of and the future I don't know how to face. The park grows quieter as the sun dips lower, the golden light casting long shadows over the trees. I sit there, phone in hand, the weight of Claire's words pressing on my chest. I love you, she said. But love isn't supposed to hurt like this, is it? The sound of kids laughing pulls me out of my thoughts. A family is playing catch on the grass, their joy so simple, so pure. It feels like a gut punch, a reminder of everything I thought I had with Claire, everything she's thrown away. My phone buzzes again, and this time, it's not a text. It's Claire, calling. Her name on the screen sends a fresh wave of anger through me, but against my better judgment, I swipe to answer. What do you want, Claire? I say, my voice sharper than I intended. There's a moment of silence before her voice comes through, shaky and quiet. Mike, thank God. I didn't think you'd pick up. Well, here I am. Say what you need to say. I need you to come home, she pleads, her words tumbling over each other. We need to talk, face to face. I can't do this over the phone. I close my eyes, pinching the bridge of my nose. Talk? About what, Claire? About how you lied to me? About Jake? Because unless you're calling to tell me the last 6 months were all a bad dream, I don't see the point. She lets out a shaky breath, and I can tell she's crying. It wasn't like that, Mike. I never wanted this to happen. It got out of control. But I love you, and I want to fix this. Please, just come home. Her words are like a knife twisting in my gut. I want to believe her, to believe that we can fix this, but the betrayal is still too fresh, too raw. I need time, Claire. I say finally, my voice low. Time to figure out what I want, what I can live with. But I need you now, she says, her voice breaking. I'm scared, Mike. I don't want to lose you. Her fear is palpable, but it doesn't soften me. If she was so scared of losing me, why did she risk everything? Why did she let Jake into our lives? You should have thought about that before, I say, the bitterness in my voice surprising even me. I gave you everything, Claire, and you threw it away. I know. she whispers, her voice barely audible. I know I screwed up, but I'll do anything to make it right. Just tell me what to do. Her desperation is painful to hear, but it doesn't change the truth. I can't go back, not yet. Maybe not ever. I'll let you know when I'm ready to talk, I say, my tone final. Until then, don't call me. I hang up before she can respond, the silence that follows both a relief and a burden. My heart feels heavy, the weight of her words and my own decisions pressing down on me. As I sit there, staring at the darkening sky, one thought keeps echoing in my mind. Can love survive this kind of betrayal? Or is it already too late? The drive back to Ryan's apartment feels longer than it should. The streets blur together under the dim glow of streetlights, and my mind is a mess of conflicting emotions. Anger still simmers beneath the surface, but there's something else there too, an ache I can't quite shake. By the time I pull into his parking lot, the weight of it all has become unbearable. I sit in the car for a moment, gripping the steering wheel like it's the only thing anchoring me to reality. The words Claire said keep replaying in my head. I'll do anything to make it right. But is there anything she can do? Or is it already too late? Ryan greets me with a raised eyebrow as I walk in, his TV blaring some old action movie. He's sprawled on the couch with a bag of chips, but he straightens up when he sees my face. You look like hell, he says, motioning for me to sit. Did you talk to her? I nod, sinking into the chair across from him. She called. Said all the usual stuff. She's sorry. She loves me. She'll do anything to fix it. He snorts, tossing a chip into his mouth. And you believe her? I glare at him, the sharpness of his tone grating on my nerves. I don't know, Ryan. That's the problem. I don't know what to believe anymore. He leans forward, his expression serious now. Look, I'm not trying to be a jerk, but you need to be smart about this. She's scared, sure. But scared of losing you? Or scared of the fallout from her affair? The question hits harder than I expect. Ryan's words cut through the fog of my emotions, forcing me to confront the possibility that Claire's remorse might not be entirely genuine. I don't know, I admit, my voice barely above a whisper. I want to believe she cares, that she's sorry for what she did. But how do I trust her again? How do I even start to rebuild something that feels this broken? Ryan doesn't answer right away, his gaze fixed on the TV as if searching for the right words. Finally, he sighs. You can't fix this overnight, Mike. Hell, you might not be able to fix it at all. But if you're even going to try, she's got to do the work. All of it. You can't be the one carrying this alone. His words make sense, but they don't make the decision any easier. I lean back in the chair, my head pounding. I just don't know if I can face her right now. Not after everything. Then don't, Ryan says simply. Take the time you need. She made her choices, Mike. Now you get to make yours. The simplicity of his advice is almost infuriating, but it also feels like a lifeline. I nod slowly, letting his words sink in. Maybe he's right. Maybe I need to step back, to figure out what I want before I even consider hearing her out. The night drags on, the weight of the situation pressing down on me like a physical burden. I try to distract myself with the movie Ryan's watching, but the action on the screen feels meaningless compared to the chaos in my own life. Eventually, exhaustion wins out, and I crash on the couch again. My dreams are restless, filled with fragments of memories and unanswered questions. When I wake, the first rays of sunlight are streaming through the window, and a sense of dread settles in my chest. Today, I need to make a decision. Do I face Claire and try to salvage what's left of our marriage? Or do I walk away and start over, no matter how painful it might be? The answers don't come easily, but as I sit there in the quiet of the morning, one thing becomes clear. Whatever I decide, I need to do it for me, not for her. The morning air feels sharp against my skin as I step outside Ryan's apartment, my breath visible in the cool light of dawn. I need space, fresh air, something to clear my head. Ryan's still asleep, sprawled out on his recliner, the TV now playing static after whatever late-night marathon he'd fallen asleep to. I start walking, letting my feet guide me without direction. The city is quiet, the streets mostly empty, and for the first time in what feels like days, my mind begins to quiet too. But it doesn't last. Claire's voice echoes in my head, her words a haunting melody I can't seem to escape. I never meant for this to happen. I'll do anything to make it right. I love you. The more I replay them, the less they make sense. If she loves me, how could she betray me like this? I stop at a small cafe, the smell of fresh coffee and baked goods drawing me in. As I order, my phone buzzes in my pocket. I don't need to check to know it's her. The temptation to ignore it is strong, but instead, I pull it out and glance at the screen. Mike, I know you're angry, and I don't blame you. But we can't leave things like this. Please, let's just talk. I need you to hear me out. Her words stir something in me. Not forgiveness, not yet, but a flicker of curiosity. Maybe it's the need for closure, or maybe it's just the hope that she'll finally say something that makes all this make sense. Either way, I find myself typing a response before I can stop myself. I'll come by later, but don't expect me to forgive you. I hit send before I can overthink it, then slip the phone back into my pocket. My coffee arrives, and I take it to a small table by the window, staring out at the street as I try to prepare myself for the confrontation ahead. By the time I finish, the sun is fully up, and the city is starting to wake. The buzz of cars and chatter fills the air as I make my way back to my car, the weight of what I'm about to do pressing down on me. I don't know what I'll say, or what I'll do if she starts crying again, but I know I need answers. The drive back to our house feels surreal, like stepping into a dream I can't wake up from. My hands grip the steering wheel tighter as I pull into the driveway, the site of our home, a place that once felt safe and full of love, now tainted by betrayal. I sit there for a moment, the engine still running, as I try to steady my breathing. Then, with a deep breath, I shut it off and step out, my footsteps heavy as I approach the front door. Claire is waiting for me in the living room. Her hair is pulled back, her face bare of makeup, and she looks smaller somehow, like the weight of her guilt is crushing her. She stands as I enter, her hands wringing together nervously. "Thank you for coming," she says, her voice barely above a whisper. I don't respond right away, my gaze sweeping over the room. It's the same as it's always been, but it feels different now, foreign, almost. Finally, I meet her eyes, my voice cold and steady. "Talk." She flinches at the sharpness of my tone, but nods, taking a shaky breath. "I know I don't deserve your forgiveness. I know I've hurt you in a way I can never take back. But, Mike, I swear, it wasn't about love. It was a mistake, a stupid, selfish mistake." I cross my arms, leaning against the wall as I glare at her. "A mistake? That's what you're calling it." Tears well up in her eyes, but she doesn't look away. I'm not trying to justify it. I'm just trying to explain. Things have been hard, Mike. I've felt lost, disconnected. And Jake, he was there. He made me feel, don't, I interrupt, my voice sharp. Don't you dare finish that sentence. Her shoulders slump, and she looks down at the floor, her tears falling silently. I know I've broken your trust. I know I might never earn it back. But I want to try, Mike. I want to fix this, if you'll let me. The room falls silent, the weight of her words hanging heavy in the air. I want to believe her, to believe that she's truly sorry. But the wound is still too fresh, the betrayal too deep. I don't know if I can do this, Claire. I say finally, my voice trembling. I don't know if I can ever trust you again. Her sobs break the silence, and for a moment, I feel a pang of guilt. But it's quickly replaced by the anger and pain that have been my constant companions since this all began. I need time, I say, turning toward the door. Time to figure out if there's anything left to save. And with that, I walk out, leaving her cries behind me as I step back into the cold light of day. The drive away from the house feels like leaving a battlefield. My hands are tight on the wheel, the echoes of Claire's sobs replaying in my mind. There was a time when her tears would have broken me, made me want to do anything to make her smile again. But now they feel like the aftermath of choices she can't undo, and I can't forget. I don't have a destination in mind, just the need to keep moving. The roads blur together as my thoughts spin. She said she was lost, disconnected. That Jake was just there. But what about me? Wasn't I there, too? Wasn't I enough? The anger flares again, hot and sharp. but it's mixed with something heavier. Sadness, maybe, or disappointment. I shake my head, gripping the wheel tighter. There's no point in dwelling on it now. I find myself pulling into the parking lot of a diner. It's not somewhere I've been before, but it feels safe, anonymous. I slide into a booth by the window and order a coffee, letting the warmth of the mug ground me as I stare out at the street. My phone buzzes again. I expect it to be Claire, but when I glance at the screen, it's a message from Ryan. "You okay?" I type back a quick response. "Not really. Just needed some space." His reply comes almost instantly. "Come by later if you want. We'll grab a beer." I appreciate the offer, but I'm not sure I can handle more talking about Claire, about us. I tuck the phone away, staring into my coffee as if it holds some kind of answer. The diner is quiet, the hum of conversations blending into the soft clink of plates and silverware. It's almost comforting, this slice of normalcy in the chaos of my life. But even here, I can't escape my thoughts. I pull out my phone again, scrolling through photos I haven't looked at in months. Pictures of Claire and me on vacations, at family gatherings, smiling and happy. At least, that's how it looks on the surface. Now I wonder how much of it was real, and how much was just a facade. A waitress stops by to refill my coffee, her smile kind but distant. "Need anything else, hon?" I shake my head. "No, thanks. I'm good." Am I good? The question lingers as I watch her walk away. I used to think I was. I used to think we were. But now, everything feels uncertain. After a while, I pay the bill and head back to my car, the diner's warmth fading as I step into the crisp afternoon air. I don't feel any closer to a decision, but I know I can't keep running forever. At some point, I have to face what's next, even if I don't know what that looks like yet. Back in the car, I check my phone again. Another message from Claire. "Mike, I know I said I'd give you time, but I need to know if there's hope for us. Please." I close my eyes, the words weighing heavier than they should. Hope. That's what it all comes down to, isn't it? Whether there's enough left between us to rebuild, to heal. I don't have an answer for her. Not yet, but I know one thing. I can't make this decision here, alone in my car, or over a cup of coffee in some diner. I need perspective. I need clarity. And I need to stop letting her control the narrative. I start the car, the engine rumbling to life as I pull out of the parking lot. My destination isn't clear, but for now, just driving feels like progress. 1 mile at a time, I'll figure out where this road leads. The open road stretches ahead of me, the hum of the engine and the rhythmic thud of the tires on the asphalt the only sounds breaking the silence. I've always found driving to be therapeutic, a way to escape, to clear my head. But today, even that doesn't seem to help. I pass familiar landmarks, the sights triggering memories I'd rather forget. The park where Claire and I used to walk on Sundays. The little cafe where we had our first date. Each one feels like a jab to the gut, a reminder of the life we had and the wreckage that remains. As I drive, I find myself heading toward the edge of town, to a place I haven't visited in years, my parents' old cabin by the lake. They sold it years ago, but I know the area well enough to find it. The thought of the quiet, of the solitude, pulls me like a magnet. The lake comes into view, its surface shimmering under the afternoon sun. The cabin is still there, now owned by someone else, but I park a little ways down, at a public picnic area that overlooks the water. The stillness of the place is almost surreal, a stark contrast to the chaos in my mind. I sit on a bench near the water's edge, staring out at the rippling waves. The calmness of the lake starts to seep into me, dulling the sharp edges of my thoughts. For the first time in what feels like days, I let myself breathe. I pull out my phone, hesitating before scrolling to Claire's name. Her messages are all there, each one more desperate than the last. She wants me to come home, to talk, to work things out. But every time I think about it, the anger flares up again, and I'm back to square one. The problem isn't just the betrayal. It's what it says about her, about us, about how easily she turned to someone else when things got tough. If we try to fix this, how do I know it won't happen again? The thought sits heavy in my chest, and I know I can't face it alone. I need someone to talk to, someone who can help me sort through this mess. And as much as Ryan's been there for me, I need a different perspective. Someone who's been through this kind of pain and come out the other side. My mind drifts to my old friend Matt. We haven't talked in a while, but I know he went through a rough divorce a few years back. He'd caught his wife cheating, too, and while it nearly destroyed him, he managed to rebuild his life. If anyone knows what I'm feeling right now, it's him. I scroll through my contacts and find his number, my thumb hovering over the call button. For a moment, I hesitate. What if he doesn't pick up? What if he doesn't want to hear from me? But then I remember the times he was there for me in the past, and I hit call. The phone rings twice before he answers. Mike? Man, it's been a while. What's up? His voice is warm, familiar, and it feels like a lifeline. Hey, Matt. Yeah, it's been too long. Listen, I need to talk. Are you free? There's a pause, and I hear the sound of a chair creaking. For you? Always. You okay? Not really, I admit, my voice cracking. It's Claire. She cheated on me, Matt. The line goes silent for a moment, and I can hear him let out a heavy sigh. Damn, Mike. I'm so sorry, man. Where are you? Do you want to come over? I'm at the lake, I say, glancing at the water. Needed some air. But yeah, I could use some company. Give me 20 minutes, he says. I'll meet you there. As the call ends, a small wave of relief washes over me. I don't know what I'll say or what advice he'll have, but at least I won't have to face this alone. I lean back on the bench, the sound of the water lapping against the shore filling the silence. For the first time in days, I feel a flicker of hope. Maybe, just maybe, I can find a way through this. The lake's tranquility feels surreal as I sit there waiting for Matt. It's a sharp contrast to the storm brewing inside me, but the stillness somehow helps. I take another deep breath, letting the fresh air fill my lungs, and try to prepare for the conversation ahead. Matt pulls up in his old truck, a familiar sight that brings a flicker of comfort. He steps out, wearing a weathered baseball cap and his usual no-nonsense expression. His presence is steady, like a rock in a turbulent sea. He waves as he approaches, carrying 2 cups of coffee. Thought you could use this, he says, handing me one as he sits beside me on the bench. Thanks, I mutter, taking a sip. The warmth spreads through me, a small solace in the chaos. Matt leans back, his gaze on the water. So, tell me what happened. I don't hold back. The words come tumbling out, the late nights, the excuses, the texts from Jake, and finally, the confrontation. As I talk, Matt listens quietly, nodding occasionally but not interrupting. By the time I finish, I feel like I've emptied a part of myself I didn't even know I was holding on to. When I stop, he lets out a long breath. Man, I'm sorry you're going through this. It's a special kind of hell, isn't it? I nod, my throat tight. I don't even know what to do, Matt. She says she's sorry, that she wants to fix it. But how do I trust her again? How do I even start? He rubs his chin thoughtfully. The thing is, Mike, trust isn't something you can just rebuild overnight. It's like a house that's been burned down. You can rebuild it, sure, but it's going to take time, effort, and a hell of a lot of patience. And even then, it might never feel the same. His words hit hard, but they make sense. So what did you do? After, Matt sighs, his gaze distant. I left. My ex wasn't interested in fixing things, and honestly, I wasn't either. It was toxic, and I knew staying would only make it worse. But your situation's different. If she's willing to put in the work, and I mean real work, not just lip service, then maybe there's a chance. But only if you're willing to meet her halfway. Halfway. The word feels like a tightrope I'm not sure I can walk. What if I'm not ready for that? What if I can't get past it? Then you don't, he says simply. No one gets to tell you how to feel or how long it should take to heal. If you're not ready, you're not ready. But you need to be honest with her and yourself about where you stand. I stare at the coffee in my hands, the steam swirling like the storm in my mind. What if it's too late? What if no matter what she does, I can't move on from this? Then you move on without her, Matt says gently. It's okay to let go, Mike. Sometimes holding on does more damage than letting go ever could. His words sink in, each one a weight I'm not sure I'm ready to carry. But they also feel like the truth. Harsh, unyielding, and necessary. We sit in silence for a while, the sound of the lake filling the space between us. Finally, Matt claps me on the shoulder. "You've got a good head on your shoulders, Mike. Whatever you decide, I know you'll figure it out." I nod, the lump in my throat making it hard to speak. "Thanks, Matt. I don't know what I'd do without you." "Anytime," he says with a small smile. "And hey, if you need to get out of the house for a while, my couch is always open." As he leaves, I sit there a little longer, the weight of the decision ahead pressing down on me. But for the first time, I feel a glimmer of clarity. Whatever happens next, it's my choice, and I need to make it for me. The drive back to town is quiet, the radio turned off, my thoughts filling the silence. Matt's words linger in my mind, a mix of comfort and challenge. "It's okay to let go," he'd said. But is it? Letting go feels like admitting defeat, like walking away from everything Claire and I built together. And yet, holding on feels just as impossible. By the time I reach Ryan's apartment, the sun is setting, casting a golden glow over the city. I park and sit in the car for a moment, staring at the dashboard, the weight of the day pressing down on me. I don't want to go inside and face Ryan's questions. I don't want to face anyone, really, but I can't sit in this car forever. I head upstairs, and Ryan greets me at the door, a beer in hand and a curious look on his face. "How was the lake?" "Quiet," I say, brushing past him. "Needed some space." He follows me into the living room, plopping down on the couch while I collapse into the recliner. "Did you figure anything out?" I shake my head. "Not really. Matt came by, though. We talked." Ryan raises an eyebrow. And he told me what I already knew but didn't want to admit. This isn't something I can decide overnight. And maybe it's not something I can fix at all. Ryan takes a swig of his beer, his expression thoughtful. Sounds like smart advice. "What are you thinking now?" I sigh, rubbing my temples. "I'm thinking I need to see her again. Not to forgive her, not yet, but to see if she's serious about fixing this. To figure out if I even want to try." Ryan nods, setting his beer down on the coffee table. "Makes sense. But don't let her manipulate you, Mike. You've got to go in there with a clear head. Set the terms, and don't let her guilt you into anything." His words hit home, and I nod. "You're right. I need to do this on my terms. For me, not for her." The evening drags on, and I try to distract myself with TV, but my mind keeps wandering back to Claire, to the life we had, the life we might still have if we can somehow claw our way out of this mess. But every time I think about the possibility of forgiveness, I feel the sting of her betrayal all over again. Eventually, I crash on the couch, the exhaustion of the day finally catching up to me. My dreams are restless, filled with fragmented memories and flashes of Claire's face, smiling, laughing, and then crying, her tears mixing with Jake's name in my mind. When I wake, the sun is just beginning to rise, casting a pale light through the apartment. I sit up, the weight of the day ahead already pressing down on me. Today, I'll see Claire again. Today, I'll start the process of figuring out if there's anything left to save. Ryan stirs in the recliner, cracking one eye open as I head for the door. "You good?" he mumbles, his voice thick with sleep. "Yeah," I say quietly. "Thanks for everything, Ryan. I'll keep you posted." He nods, already drifting back to sleep as I step out into the cool morning air. The drive to our house feels surreal, each mile bringing me closer to a confrontation I'm not sure I'm ready for. But ready or not, it's time to face this. I pull into the driveway, the sight of the house, a place that once felt like home, now a source of anxiety. My heart pounds as I step out of the car, each step toward the door heavier than the last. I hesitate for a moment, my hand hovering over the doorknob, before finally pushing it open. Claire is waiting for me in the living room, her face pale and drawn. She stands as I enter, her hands twisting together nervously. "Mike," she says, her voice trembling. "Thank you for coming back." I don't respond right away, closing the door behind me and leaning against it. "I'm not here to forgive you, Claire. I'm here to figure out if there's even a chance for us to move forward. But this has to be on my terms." She nods quickly, tears brimming in her eyes. "Anything, Mike. Whatever it takes." The weight of her words hangs in the air, and for the first time, I feel a flicker of control. Whatever happens next, it will be on my terms. I move further into the living room, keeping my distance from Claire. The tension between us is palpable, like a fragile thread ready to snap. She watches me with wide, tear-filled eyes, her hands trembling at her sides. Let's get one thing straight, I say, my voice steady but firm. If we even try to move forward, you need to come clean. No half-truths, no excuses. I want the whole story, Claire. Everything. She nods, swallowing hard. Okay, she whispers. You deserve the truth. I cross my arms, leaning against the back of the couch. Then start from the beginning. How long has this been going on? Claire takes a shaky breath, her gaze dropping to the floor. It started about 6 months ago, she admits, her voice barely audible. Jake and we worked late on a project together, and one night, after too many drinks, it just happened. The anger flares again, hot and consuming. And by it, you mean, we slept together, she says quickly, cutting me off. Her voice cracks, and the tears spill over, streaking her face. It was a mistake, Mike. A horrible, stupid mistake. I regretted it the moment it happened. I scoff, the sound harsh in the quiet room. And yet, it didn't stop there, did it? You kept seeing him. You kept lying to me. She winces at my words, her shoulders shaking with silent sobs. I didn't know how to stop, she says, her voice trembling. He kept pushing, and I was too weak to say no. But it wasn't love, Mike. It never was. Don't, I snap, my voice sharp. Don't you dare try to make this about him. You had a choice, Claire. Every single time, you had a choice. And you chose to betray me. She nods, her sobs growing louder. You're right. I did. And I hate myself for it. I hate what I've done to us. Her words hang in the air, heavy and suffocating. I want to scream at her, to unleash the full force of my anger. But I also want answers, real answers, not just apologies. Why? I ask finally, my voice quieter now. Why him? Why any of this? She wipes at her tears, her hands shaking. I don't know, she says, her voice breaking. I was feeling lost, disconnected. Like I wasn't enough for you, or for anyone. And Jake, he made me feel noticed, wanted. But it was never about you, Mike. It was my own insecurities, my own flaws. Her admission feels like a slap in the face, and yet, it also makes a twisted kind of sense. I felt the distance between us, the cracks in our marriage, but I never imagined she'd turn to someone else to fill the void. Do you even understand what you've done? I ask, my voice low and filled with pain. You didn't just hurt me, Claire. You destroyed the trust, the foundation of everything we built together. How do you expect me to get past that? I don't, she whispers, her voice trembling. I don't expect anything, Mike. I just want a chance to make things right. To prove to you that I can be better, that I can be the wife you deserve. Her desperation tugs at something deep inside me, but I can't let it cloud my judgment. I've given her everything, and she threw it away. If there's a path forward, it has to be on my terms. I don't know if I can do this, I admit, the words heavy on my tongue. I don't know if I can ever look at you the same way again. She nods, her tears falling silently now. I understand, she says, her voice barely above a whisper. But please, Mike, just give me a chance to try. The room falls silent again, the weight of her plea hanging between us. I don't respond, my thoughts a whirlwind of anger, hurt, and uncertainty. All I know is that the road ahead is long and filled with questions I don't yet have answers to. The silence stretches between us, heavy and suffocating. Claire's tears continue to fall, her eyes pleading with me to say something, anything. But I don't have the words. My anger, my pain, my uncertainty, it's all too much to process. Finally, I push off the couch and pace the room, running a hand through my hair. Do you even know what you're asking, Claire? I say, my voice low but sharp. You're asking me to forget the lies, the betrayal, the months of sneaking around. You're asking me to rebuild something you tore apart. She flinches at my words, her hands clasped tightly together. I'm not asking you to forget, she says softly. I know you can't. I know it'll take time, maybe years, but I'm willing to do whatever it takes, Mike. Therapy, counseling, anything. I'll cut Jake out of my life completely, whatever you need. I stop pacing and turn to her, my eyes narrowing. You'll cut Jake out? That should have happened the second this started, Claire. The fact that you even have to say that now shows how deep this mess is. She nods, her head hanging low. I know, she whispers. I know I failed you, but I'm not giving up on us, Mike. Not unless you tell me there's no hope. Her words hang in the air, and I feel the weight of them pressing down on me. She's putting the ball in my court, asking me to make a decision I'm not ready to make. And the truth is, I don't know if there is hope. Not yet. I need time, I say finally, my voice steady but firm. I can't give you an answer right now. I need to figure out if this is something I can live with, or if it's already too late. Claire looks up at me, her eyes red and swollen. How much time? She asks, her voice trembling. Days? Weeks? Months? I shake my head. I don't know, Claire. As long as it takes. And in the meantime, I need space. I can't be here with you, not right now. Her face crumples, and she takes a step toward me. Mike, please. Don't leave. We can work on this together. No. I interrupt, holding up a hand. We can't. Not right now. I need space to think, to heal. And I can't do that if I'm here, constantly reminded of what you did. She stops in her tracks, her shoulders slumping as fresh tears stream down her face. Where will you go? She asks, her voice barely audible. Ryan's, I say, grabbing my jacket from the back of the chair. He's been there for me, and I need his support right now. She nods slowly, her hands trembling as she wrings them together. Okay, she whispers. I'll wait, Mike. However long it takes, I'll wait. I don't respond. I can't. Instead, I turn and head for the door, my heart heavy as I step outside into the cool evening air. The weight of what just happened bears down on me, but for the first time, I feel a small flicker of relief. I've taken the first step toward reclaiming control of my life, and that's a start. The drive to Ryan's is quiet, the hum of the engine the only sound in the car. My mind races with everything Claire said, with the emotions swirling inside me. Anger, sadness, doubt. All of it blending together into a storm I can't yet calm. When I pull into Ryan's parking lot, he's waiting for me on the porch, a beer in hand and a knowing look on his face. Rough night? He asks as I step out of the car. I nod, exhaustion pulling at me. You have no idea. He claps me on the shoulder, leading me inside. Come on, let's talk it out. As we settle into the living room, I realize that while the road ahead is uncertain, I'm not walking it alone. And for now, that's enough. Ryan hands me a beer as I sink into the worn-out recliner in his living room. The place is a mess, but it feels oddly comforting. Clothes on the couch, empty pizza boxes on the floor, and the faint smell of whatever he microwaved for dinner. It's far from perfect, but it's real, and right now, I need real. He takes a seat across from me, his expression serious. So, how'd it go? I take a sip of the beer, letting the cold liquid calm my nerves before answering. She said all the right things, I say, my voice heavy. She's sorry. She wants to fix it. She'll do whatever it takes. But I don't know, Ryan. How do you even start a rebuild after something like this? He nods, leaning back in his chair. It's not easy. Hell, it might not even be possible. But the real question is, do you want to try? The question hangs in the air, and I don't answer right away. Instead, I stare at the beer in my hands, the label peeling at the edges. I don't know, I admit finally. Part of me wants to walk away, to start over. But another part, I don't know if I'm ready to give up on everything we had. Ryan takes a long sip of his beer, his gaze thoughtful. Look, Mike, no one can make this decision for you. Not me, not her, not anyone. But whatever you decide, make sure it's what's best for you. Not what's easiest, not what anyone else thinks you should do. What's best for you? His words hit home, and I nod slowly. Yeah, I need time to figure that out. And you'll get it, he says firmly. You're welcome to crash here as long as you need. We'll get through this one step at a time. The gratitude I feel is almost overwhelming, and I manage a small smile. Thanks, Ryan. I mean it. He shrugs, a hint of a smile on his face. What are brothers for? The rest of the evening passes quietly. We talk about anything but Claire. Sports, work, old memories from when we were kids. For a few hours, it feels like a reprieve, a chance to breathe amidst the chaos. But as the night wears on, the weight of everything creeps back in. Lying on Ryan's lumpy couch, I stare at the ceiling, my mind racing. Claire's face flashes in my mind. Her tears, her pleas. The way she said she'd wait, no matter how long it took. I want to believe her. I want to believe that she's truly sorry, that she's willing to change. But trust is a fragile thing, and hers is shattered. As I lie there, I think about what Ryan said earlier, about making the decision for me, not for anyone else. It's easier said than done, but he's right. This isn't just about Claire or our marriage. It's about me, about what I need to heal and move forward, whether that's with her or without her. Sleep doesn't come easily, but when it does, my dreams are restless. Images of Claire, of Jake, of our life together flash through my mind like a broken film reel. By the time I wake, the sun is just beginning to rise, and a sense of clarity starts to take shape. I don't have all the answers yet, but I know one thing. I can't make this decision out of anger or hurt. I need to step back, to take the time I need to figure out what's best for me. And whatever that decision is, it'll be mine. The morning light filters through the blinds, painting soft patterns on the walls of Ryan's living room. The world feels quiet, almost too still, as if holding its breath while I wrestle with the weight of the decision ahead. I sit up on the couch, the blanket Ryan tossed over me sometime during the night sliding off onto the floor. Ryan's still asleep in his room, his door cracked open just enough for me to hear the low hum of his snoring. I grab my phone from the coffee table and stare at the screen. No new messages. It's the first time in days that Claire hasn't texted me, and the silence feels unsettling. Or maybe it's just what I need. I head to the kitchen, fumbling with the coffee maker, the bitter aroma soon filling the small apartment. As I wait, my mind wanders to the question that's been haunting me. What now? Matt's advice, Ryan's support, Claire's pleas. They all swirl in my mind, conflicting and unresolved. By the time Ryan stumbles out of his room, rubbing the sleep from his eyes, I've already had 2 cups of coffee. He raises an eyebrow at me, grabbing a mug from the counter. You've been up a while. I nod, staring out the window. Couldn't sleep. He takes a sip, leaning against the counter. Thinking about her? Yeah, I admit. And everything else. What I'm supposed to do next. Ryan sets his mug down, crossing his arms as he studies me. You know, Mike, you don't have to have it all figured out today. Or tomorrow. Take your time. No one's rushing you. Except myself, I mutter, running a hand through my hair. I just feel like I'm stuck, you know? Like no matter what I decide, it's going to hurt. It probably will, he says honestly. But that doesn't mean you can't come out stronger on the other side. Whether that's with her or not, you'll figure it out. I nod, his words sinking in. It's not about avoiding the pain. It's about facing it, making the choice that's right for me, even if it hurts. The day drags on, the hours blending together as I sit with my thoughts. I know I need to talk to Claire again, to tell her where I stand and what I need from her if we're going to move forward. But I also know I need to set boundaries, to protect myself from getting hurt again. As the sun begins to set, I finally pick up my phone and type out a message. Claire, I'll come by tomorrow. We need to talk. Her reply comes almost instantly. Thank you, Mike. I'll be here. I set the phone down, my heart pounding. Tomorrow, I'll face her again. But this time, it'll be on my terms. I'll lay everything out, what I need, what I expect, and what I won't tolerate. If she's serious about fixing this, she'll have to prove it. And if not, then I'll walk away, knowing I did everything I could. Ryan gives me a small smile as I settle back onto the couch for the night. You've got this, man. I nod, the weight on my chest lifting just a little. For the first time in days, I feel a flicker of hope. Not for Claire, not for our marriage, but for myself. No matter what happens tomorrow, I'll face it head on. And whatever the outcome, I'll find a way to move forward. Because I have to. Have you ever faced a betrayal that turned your world upside down? How did you handle it? Share your thoughts or similar experiences in the comments below. Let's start a conversation about trust, healing, and finding strength in the toughest times. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to like and subscribe for more gripping tales that dive deep into life's most challenging moments. Your support helps us bring more stories to life.